Hey guys, Jared here, and today we're going to compare the Intel 6700HQ CPU against the 6700K. We'll run some benchmarks to see how they perform and discuss the differences between them to help you find out which one you should get. It's important to note that the 6700HQ is typically a mobile chip for use in laptops, while the 6700K has traditionally been an unlocked desktop chip. However, with that said, there are laptops available with the 6700K, so I think it's useful to understand the differences in performance and features between them when buying a laptop. You might be tempted to think that they're similar based purely on their names, so let's find out. First, let's note the similarities between these two chips. Both have 4 CPU cores with 8 threads. They use a 14nm manufacturing process, they have support for up to 64GB of memory with 2 memory channels, and 16 PCI Express lanes. Both also have the same Intel HD Graphics 530 chip, and were released in the same period, Q3 of 2015. That's where the majority of the similarities end, so how do they differ? The main difference is in the clock speed, where the 6700HQ has a base clock of 2.6 GHz and can turbo up to 3.5 GHz. While the 6700K has a base clock of 4 GHz and can turbo up to 4.2 GHz. Not only that, but the 6700K is unlocked and can be overclocked for even higher levels of performance. Of course, this depends greatly on an adequate cooling solution, especially if used in a laptop rather than a desktop where cooling space is more scarce. The K CPU also has 8MB of cache, while the HQ has 6MB. The K has a TDP of 91 watts, while the HQ's is 45 watts. And I'll mention now that I had no thermal throttling during any of my testing. HQ CPUs are typically soldered onto the board, and can't be changed without full motherboard replacement, so they aren't too great for future expansion. The turbo boost also works a bit differently between the two, with the mobile chip not boosting as high when more cores are in use at once. That's all well and good, but how do they actually perform? In these tests, we're not overclocking the 6700K, so keep in mind that if you did get one, you could push it even further. In Cinebench, the CPU score for the 6700HQ was 691, while the 6700K received 836. A fairly respectable increase, but nothing too crazy. In the Passmark CPU benchmark, the 6700HQ got a CPU score of 8,973, while the 6700K received 11,108. Again, a nice boost in comparison. In Geekbench 4, the 6700HQ got 4,334 for single-core performance and 13,066 for multi-core. The 6700K, on the other hand, got 5,081 for single-core performance and 16,177 for multi-core. These increases for the 6700K are starting to look fairly consistent. However, I think the difference in the way the turbo boost works shows here. The multi-core test shows the 6700K as performing around 19% better than the HQ chip. However, in the single-core test, the K chip is only performing around 15% better here, a little bit less. The 7-zip benchmark was run for 10 passes with a dictionary of 32 MB. The 6700HQ got a total rating of 19,121 MIPS, while the 6700K got a total rating of 24,548 MIPS. So again, as expected, the 6700K comes out on top for compression. I then used Handbrake to encode a 500MB MP4 video file that I recorded from 1080p to 720p. The 6700HQ completed the job at an average speed of 35 frames per second, while the 6700K completed encoding the same file at 43.7 frames per second, so the K was a bit faster for the encoding test, which could definitely be useful if you render a lot of video. So as we expected, the 6700K performs a fair amount better than the 6700HQ throughout all of our tests. On average, through all of these tests, the 6700K performed approximately 18% better at stock clock speeds. To be honest, I actually expected the 6700K to score quite a bit better in these tests, based on what I've read online, so I'm glad I ran the comparisons myself, as I can now see that the difference isn't anything too crazy. So which of these CPUs should you get? Personally, I've been using a laptop with the 6700HQ for well over a year now, and haven't had any performance issues. As you may know, we've gotten to the point for most games where the CPU is not the bottleneck anymore, so I think pairing this CPU with a good graphics card will still provide you with a great gaming experience. If you can afford to get the 6700K, then by all means go for it. However, note that it will run hotter, requiring more cooling, which adds more weight to the laptop. and will also drain more power from your battery. Personally, I think the 6700HQ is a great laptop CPU. It's quite powerful and works well. I think I'll be leaving the 6700K in the desktop. I hope this video has helped you see the real-world performance differences between these two CPUs. Be sure to leave a comment on the video and let me know which of these two CPUs you'd pick for a laptop. And also leave a like if you found the information useful. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for future tech videos like this one.